1. The Diplomat's arrival. The Zerath Dominion had been at war for 400 years. Empires had risen and fallen in the time it took them to argue over peace. But when the Galactic Peace Summit was called on Aerethus Prime, the most feared of all species finally agreed to attend. The humans. They sent only 2 representatives, a diplomat named Seren Vale, and a bodyguard, just one human, silent and expressionless, clad in dark armor with no insignia. The other delegates laughed. Whole armies stood outside the hall, yet this primitive species brought only 1 soldier. They didn't laugh for long. 2. The warlord's insult. Among the delegates sat Warlord Craxon of the Drath Empire, a creature of claws and obsidian scales. He had crushed fleets and burned planets. When he saw the humans standing beside Seren, he sneered. "Tell me, little diplomat," Craxon rumbled, "is this your translator or your pet?" The whole erupted in uneasy laughter. Seren didn't flinch. She only turned slightly to her bodyguard. "Captain," she said softly, "do you speak for me?" The human nodded once. He didn't reach for a weapon. He didn't move at all. He simply looked at the warlord. Free, the silence. Every species in the chamber felt it, something invisible pressing against their minds. The temperature dropped. The light dimmed. The sound of the warlord's laughter choked in his throat. And then, nothing. Craxon's chair was empty. His armor lay in a heap of ash. No weapon had fired. No sound had been made. The warlord of the Drath Empire was gone. The bodyguard's eyes glowed faintly blue, then dimmed again. He turned back to Seren. He will not interrupt again. 4. The panic. Chaos erupted. Delegates shouted. Security drones swarmed. Armies outside prepared for war. But before any of them could act, the human raised his hand. "Stop!" Every weapon froze. Literally, locked in mid-air, mid-motion, mid-trigger. Even energy itself seemed to obey him. "This summit will continue," he said quietly. "There will be peace. You will sign it." And one by one, every species, warrior, tyrant, and diplomat alike, found themselves unable to disobey. 5. The truth about the bodyguard. Later, as the accords were signed in trembling silence, Seren spoke privately to the surviving council. "You misunderstand," she said. "He is not our strongest. He is simply available." The council stared in disbelief. "There are more." Seren smiled faintly. "Every human carries a potential for what you just saw. We don't use it because we choose not to, but we thought it wise to remind you what peace costs when you forget." 6. 3 minutes. The entire summit, from insult to final signature, lasted exactly 3 minutes and 12 seconds. The longest war in galactic history ended without a single treaty negotiation, without an army firing a shot. News spread faster than light. A human had stopped a war with a word. The galaxy trembled, not in hatred, but in awe. 7. The legend spreads. Across the stars, rulers rewrote their laws. The first accord of Aerethus declared, "No human shall ever be refused in matters of peace." They became the ultimate deterrent, living symbols of consequence. Nations sought them as ambassadors, protectors, and judges, because everyone remembered what happened the last time someone mocked a human at a peace table. 8. The cost of power. In private, the bodyguard, known only as Captain Solon, spoke once to Seren after the summit. "Do they know what it costs us?" he asked quietly. "No," she replied, "and they never will." He nodded. The glow in his eyes dimmed again, and the faintest trace of sorrow crossed his face. "Good." Because power like his wasn't strength, it was burden. The kind humans never wield unless forced. 9. The whisper of peace. Years later, statues of Seren Vale and her nameless bodyguard stood in the halls of the new Galactic Council. Underneath, an inscription read, "Peace is not given, It is enforced by those who remember what war feels like. And somewhere, on a quiet blue world called Earth, a small child looked up at the stars and asked a teacher, "Is it true that one human ended a war?" The teacher smiled softly. "No, child. He ended all of them." 10. Epilogue: The Fear That Kept the Peace. 1,000 years later, when new empires rose and greed returned, as it always does, someone would whisper the story again. The diplomat and her bodyguard. The war that lasted 3 minutes. And even the most ruthless tyrants would hesitate before lifting a weapon, because everyone in the galaxy remembered. The first law of peace: never test the patience of a human who came to protect.